I had been Julian's secret girlfriend for 5 years. The day I decided to finally make our relationship public, I overheard him talking with a friend. "Damn, Julian, you really play a dangerous game. Stella might not be your uncle's biological daughter, but she grew up in your house. Isn't it a thrill, having this secret affair with her?" His friend laughed. "If her mother knew, you think she'd claw her way out of her grave to strangle you?" Julian's voice was chillingly calm. "That's nothing. Wait until I take over the company with Chloe. Then I'll show Stella what it means to wish you were dead." I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood, stifling a sob. 5 years of devotion, of trust, had been nothing more than a meticulously crafted game of revenge. I sent a single text to Mr. Jiang, my mother's most trusted advisor. "The leadership of the company is about to change." What I hadn't anticipated was that at the ceremony meant to announce his succession, my uncle Julian would be the one to have his world fall apart, starting with the engagement ring he planned to place on another woman's finger. "Miss, are you absolutely certain about taking over? There's no turning back." "I'm certain, Mr. Jiang. I'll take control of the company." Mr. Jiang, who had been my mother's right hand for decades, was so thrilled he stammered. "Oh, really?" For 5 years, he had pleaded with me to accept my birthright. For 5 years, I had refused, all for a man who saw me as a pawn. My refusals had forced him to consider other candidates, namely Julian. Now, on the very eve of Julian's coronation, I had finally come to my senses. "The succession ceremony is already prepared," Mr. Jiang hesitated. "The timeline is tight, and he has special arrangements planned. Are you sure you don't want to postpone?" "No," I said, my voice firm. "Let him have his stage." Just as I hung up, the door opened and Julian walked in. "Considering what?" he murmured, sliding his arms around my waist from behind. The warmth of his breath ghosted against my ear. I gently pushed his face away, breaking the intimate spell. He tightened his grip, his voice husky. "You used to love it when I held you like this. What's wrong today?" A violent storm of rage, suppressed for days, finally broke as his lips came down on mine. It was a passionate, dominating kiss, meant to erase any resistance. But this time, I didn't melt. I let him kiss me, and felt nothing but the cold, hard truth. When I was 10, my mother married into the Yi family. Julian, 2 years my senior, made my life a living hell. He resented us, wishing we would disappear. But his father, my stepfather, relied on my mother's business acumen to keep the company afloat. And somewhere in that turbulent, hostile environment, my foolish heart had started beating for the arrogant, untamable Julian. When I was 15, he began showering me with expensive gifts, showing up at my school to walk me home. Then, my stepfather died in a sudden accident. In the midst of the family's grief, Julian confessed his love for me. Soon after, my mother sent me abroad to study. I was gone for 5 years. I was preparing to return home at 20 when I received the news: my mother had passed away from a sudden illness. That night, in the cold, sterile memorial hall, 2 lonely souls found solace in each other. I accepted his confession and his condition: our relationship had to remain a secret. And so began our 5-year underground love affair. Only now did I understand it was all a premeditated trap. He saw my infatuation, nurtured it, drew me in until I was completely submerged, all so he could eventually destroy me. His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at the screen and stood up, the heat in his eyes instantly extinguished. "Mr. Jiang," he said into the phone, his voice low and respectful, "is something wrong?" Watching him speak, I noticed for the first time that the entire apartment was decorated in shades of purple. It was the favorite color of Chloe, his secretary. I had always assumed it was his preference. When he returned, his face was clouded with annoyance. "Mr. Jiang said my proposal for the ceremony was rejected. I have to wait. Did I miscalculate something?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Are you talking about your public plans, or your private ones?" "Stella, don't tease me," he said, his eyes pleading. The spell was broken by another ringtone, a special one I knew was reserved for Chloe. "It's urgent, I have to go," he said, his gaze flickering with a dark, familiar promise. I'll make up for tonight, I swear. He remembered my promise to give myself to him completely tonight. But, just like every other time Chloe had called, he was leaving. Will you be back? I asked, my voice hollow. Of course. You still owe me, don't you? He said with a wink, another casual lie in a sea of them. I sat there alone, staring into the darkness until the sun came up, a silent vigil for a 5-year lie. Finally, my mind was clear. I picked up the phone. Mr. Jiang, I said. The plan goes ahead as scheduled. If I had announced my relationship with Julian, Mr. Jiang would have been happy for us. But how could I want a love built on such a cruel deception? I didn't see Julian for the next few days, burying myself in preparations. His text messages, however, arrived like clockwork: good morning, good night, thinking of you, each one a poison dart. Mr. Jiang arranged for a team of core executives to audit the company ahead of the transition. His own son, Leo, was leading them. He was preparing the ground for my return. The day of the preliminary audit meeting, Julian strode in. I had just replied to his text saying he'd be out of town on business, and there he was, in the flesh. He looked surprised to see me there. He had no idea I would be at the company. He certainly had no idea that Leo, the head of the audit team, was there for me. Uncle Julian, I said, my voice cool and formal. A woman stepped out from behind him, nudging the chair next to mine. Hello, Stella. I'm Chloe, your uncle's fiancée. Could you please make some room for Mr. Yi? I looked at Julian. There was no panic in his eyes, no flicker of guilt. He just smiled gently at Chloe, then looked at me with casual indifference. Yes, listen to your aunt. I had underestimated his cold-bloodedness. Even prepared, seeing it firsthand sent a fresh wave of pain through me. Leo started to stand up, but I shot him a look. He settled back down, professionally introducing his team before they dispersed to their tasks. Julian sat beside me, maintaining a careful, professional distance, his eyes fixed forward. When Chloe brought coffee, she let out a small oops and accidentally spilled a scalding cup directly onto the back of my hand. The pain was sharp and immediate. What do you think you're doing? I snapped, my voice shaking with rage. Chloe looked at me, her eyes wide with false innocence. Oh, I'm so sorry, dear. I was just looking at Julian and I got distracted. I didn't mean to spill it on you. I knew perfectly well it was deliberate. I glared at her, about to unleash my fury. But Julian shot to his feet, pulling Chloe behind him protectively. It was an accident, he said, his voice hard. There's no need to make a scene. Our eyes met, and sparks flew. Leo could no longer contain himself. If you want to fawn over someone, do it on your own time, he said sharply, his voice cutting through the tension. You're disrupting everyone's work. I looked down at my hand. It was already red and blistering. Julian forced a smile, turning to Leo. I was hoping your father would be here. I have some excellent tea for him. I don't meddle in his affairs, Leo retorted. If you want to know his schedule, ask him yourself. He then turned to me, his expression softening with concern. Let me take you to the hospital. The burn on my hand was nothing compared to the agony in my heart. It's fine, I said, my voice thick. I just want to go home. Let me take you, dear. Chloe offered eagerly. Stay out of it, I hissed. She immediately put on a wounded expression and looked to Julian for comfort. The way they looked at each other, a silent, intimate exchange, was suffocating. I couldn't stand to be in that room for another second. By the time I reached the restroom, a large blister had formed on my hand. As I turned, I didn't see the flicker of worry that crossed Julian's face as he watched me go. I was running my hand under cool water when a text from him came through. Is your hand okay? Let me take you to a doctor. Followed by another, it's not what you think. I'll explain later. I took a deep breath, forcing back the tears. As I stepped out of the restroom, I heard a familiar voice from around the corner, laced with a breathless urgency. Oh, Julian, be gentle. It was Chloe. I froze, my feet rooted to the spot. I couldn't move. Through the gap in the doorway, I saw them. Chloe suddenly looked up and saw me. A triumphant, vicious smile spread across her face. "Look," she purred, "we have an audience." The sight of them, tangled together, made me sick. I turned and ran, feeling like a fool who had stumbled upon their private celebration. Julian looked up and saw me, his expression unreadable. He pushed Chloe away as she tried to press herself against him again. I had only been home for a few minutes when Julian walked in. "Get out," I said, my voice trembling. "I don't want to see you." He ignored me, walking straight to me and kneeling down. "Let me see your hand." He gently took the hand I was hiding behind my back. The pain in his eyes looked so real, so genuine, that for a fleeting moment, I was confused. He carefully applied burn cream to the blister. I didn't understand. The charade was over. Why was he still playing this part? I snatched my hand back. He sat beside me, looking out the window. "Your outburst at the company today was very embarrassing for Chloe, especially in front of Leo. If Mr. Jeong finds out, it will ruin his impression of her." He turned to me, his eyes terrifyingly calm. The tenderness from a moment ago was gone, completely erased. It was as if I was truly seeing him for the first time. The angry Julian, the calm Julian, the wild Julian, the gentle Julian, the loving Julian, the cruel Julian. He was a chameleon. "Is that why you came back?" I asked with a bitter laugh. "What if I refused to apologize?" His eyes, dark and merciless, reflected my own broken image. I met his gaze. "If my mother were still alive, would you be doing this? Would you have a chance in hell of taking over her company?" He didn't answer. He knew I was right. Suddenly, Chloe appeared at the door, holding up a small, purple foil packet. "Julian," she cooed, "I prefer the lavender-scented ones." It was the packet I had bought for our special night. "Stella, darling," she continued, pulling several familiar-looking jewelry boxes from her purse. "I brought you some gifts. I know you'll love them." "I don't want them." "But how could you not? Your whole apartment is decorated in purple. I thought you were a purple fanatic, just like me." Her eyes danced with mockery. The entire room, his life, was saturated with her. Julian stood up and pulled her out. "You should get some rest." After they left, I threw every single jewelry box against the wall. They were the gifts he had given me in high school. Gifts, I now realized, that he had probably intended for her. Chloe was the sharp blade that had finally sliced through the veil of our deceit. I had been their fool for 5 years. Every time I had wanted to go public, he'd had an excuse. "The company isn't in my hands yet. It's not the right time." When I offered to help at the office, he would pinch my nose and say, "Your uncle doesn't want to see you get tired." He wasn't protecting me, he was keeping me away. That night, I received a photo from Leo. It was Julian and Chloe, locked in a passionate kiss outside a hotel, their clothes disheveled. Leo's text read, "Is this the special arrangement he had planned?" I didn't reply. The moment I had decided to let go, none of it mattered anymore. The next morning, a car arranged by Leo took me to the airport. Julian's clockwork texts had stopped. He was too busy preparing for his coronation to bother with me now. The company's succession ceremony was to be held at the headquarters in another country. He was taking Chloe to witness his moment of glory. There had never been a place for me. As soon as I landed, a message from Chloe arrived. "Stella, honey, I was in such a rush I just grabbed that purple gown from the house. Your uncle said it wouldn't suit you anyway, so he let me wear it instead. I'll buy you a new one when we get back." It was the gown Julian had picked out for me, the one he said I should wear when I stood by his side at the ceremony. I was going to throw it out anyway, I texted back. I was whisked away to a series of briefings and run-throughs. The ceremony for the new head of the Enyi Corporation would be a massive event, attracting business tycoons and media from all over the world. Julian, the presumed heir, would be the star of the show. His plan did not include me being there. That was about to be his biggest surprise. "Julian will be here tomorrow," Mr. Jeong told me. "I will escort you to the stage myself." Good. I had a new phone, wiped clean of Julian's existence. When the stage lights came up, I knew it was time. Julian was already in the crowd, impeccably dressed, surrounded by admirers. Everyone, please quiet down. Mr. Zhang's voice boomed. Julian turned his head at the sound. Our eyes met across the crowded room. Stella. The color drained from his handsome face. But in front of everyone, he could do nothing. Just as Mr. Jiang was about to continue, Leo appeared, whispering something in his ear. Mr. Jiang nodded, gave me a quick look, and hurried off stage. The moment he was gone, Julian grabbed my arm and dragged me backstage. What do you think you're doing? He hissed, his face a thundercloud. Wasn't it enough to cause a scene at home? Did you have to follow me here and make trouble in front of Mr. Jiang? His panic was almost laughable. Well, Uncle Julian, I said sweetly, why do you think I'm here? He was too agitated to even consider the meaning behind my question. I don't care why. You are not to cause a scene today. You know what this day means to me. I finally laughed out loud. In his world, I was only meant to be a shadow, seen and not heard. You overestimate yourself, Uncle. I smiled. By the way, congratulations on your engagement. His brow furrowed, his eyes wary. What are you planning? Before I could answer, Leo appeared. Julian's fear was palpable. He was terrified I would ruin his engagement to Chloe. In his eyes, that's all I was, a jealous woman fighting over him. He had no idea. When Mr. Jiang led me back out, I saw Chloe clinging to Julian's arm, wearing the gown he had chosen for me. She shot me a triumphant smile and glided over. Well, if it isn't the little niece, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Hoping to catch a rich husband in your uncle's spotlight? She turned to the crowd. Does anyone have a handsome son to introduce to Julian's little niece? The crowd turned to stare at me. Choose carefully, Stella, she mocked. Don't get overwhelmed. Mr. Jiang had seen enough. Julian, he roared. It was a warning, a reprimand, and a cry of profound disappointment. Julian looked panicked, his gaze on me turning dark and threatening. Let's not waste any more time, I murmured to Mr. Jiang. As we started to move, a tall figure blocked our path. It was Julian. The temperature around us seemed to drop. Mr. Jiang, Julian said, his voice tight. Before you make your announcement, I have one of my own. Mr. Jiang looked at me. I remained silent. Are you sure? Mr. Jiang asked Julian. Julian glanced at me, his resolve hardening. Yes. We stepped back, ceding the stage to him. The host excitedly announced a surprise. The crowd murmured, confused. Julian turned and held his hand out to Chloe. Today, he announced, his voice ringing with false joy, I want to share my happiness with all of you. Today, I am getting engaged to the love of my life, Chloe. They gazed into each other's eyes. I watched as the last shred of any positive feeling I had for him evaporated. I had thought he was brilliant, calculating, and cool-headed. I never imagined he would be so foolishly reckless for a woman. They began a dramatic retelling of their decade-long, on-again, off-again romance, a love story that spanned continents. The business leaders and journalists in the audience were not impressed. Whispers grew louder. Why had a corporate succession turned into an engagement party? Mr. Zhang's patience was wearing thin. When they finished their speeches and were about to exchange rings, he stepped forward. Are you finished? Julian, holding the ring, looked at Mr. Zhang's furious expression and reluctantly nodded. Mr. Jiang shouldered him aside. Get off the stage, he commanded. Julian's face went from red to white to a deep, bruised purple. He stared at Mr. Jiang, but ultimately, choking on his rage, he stepped down. Mr. Jiang extended his hand to me and pulled me to the center of the stage. Today, I am honored to introduce the new chairman of the Yi Corporation. Mr. Jiang. Julian couldn't stop himself from crying out. Mr. Jiang glanced at Julian and Chloe, who were still lingering at the side of the stage. He smiled. My apologies, I misspoke. As of today, the Yi Corporation will be officially renamed Yi Enterprises. No. Julian shouted, lunging forward. Leo quickly restrained him. Mr. Jiang continued, his voice ringing with authority. And I am proud to present to you our new chairwoman, Stella Een. The hall fell into a stunned silence. Ting. The sharp, clear sound of a ring hitting the marble floor echoed through the room. Julian didn't cause a scene. Leo and his security team escorted him and a stunned Chloe off stage. You know what today is, Leo said sternly. I suggest you calm down. From the wings, Julian's eyes were fixed on me, radiant under the stage lights. I didn't give him a single glance. He tore at his tie, his composure shattered. What the hell is going on? He demanded of no one in particular. After the initial announcement, I went backstage to change for the reception. I found him there, waiting. Don't hold him back, Leo, I said. There are some things he needs to understand. Julian's eyes were filled with a wounded disbelief. Why did you lie to me? You promised you would always be by my side. What is this? Was our 5 years together just a lie to deceive me? He jabbed a finger at his own chest, as if I were the one who had betrayed him. I believe you just got engaged, Uncle, Leo reminded him coldly. Julian, I suggest you watch yourself. If you're here to congratulate our chairwoman, then speak respectfully. Otherwise, our past friendship means nothing. Stella, please, Julian begged, his voice breaking. Give me another chance. Forgive me just this once. You know what we had. Slap. You disgusting, lying bastard. Chloe, finally seeing the man in front of her for who he was, ripped the ring from her finger, threw it at him, and ran out. Mr. Jiang, having finally heard the story of what had happened between us, strode over. Before Julian could even react from the slap, Mr. Jiang delivered 2 swift, hard kicks to his legs. Julian crumpled to the floor, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. It's time to change, someone said, reminding me of my schedule. As I turned to leave, Julian grabbed the hem of my dress. Stella. Uncle was wrong. You still have feelings for me, don't you? He was a mess on the floor, his expensive suit ruined, but the look in his eyes was the same deep, soulful gaze he had always used to manipulate me. The staff waiting for me were growing impatient. Their whispers were audible. But Julian kept his eyes locked on mine, searching for any sign of his former power over me. Stella, give me one more chance. A fist slammed into his face. I've had enough of this, Leo snarled, shaking his hand. You guys go on ahead. Julian's face was already swelling. Stella, he called out as Mr. Jiang led me away. A new star was rising. I spent the rest of the evening mingling, graceful and confident, raising my glass to a new future. When the event finally ended, it was late. I glanced backstage. Julian was still there, a bloody heap on the floor. Is he? Don't worry, Mr. Jiang said. Leo knows how to handle him. I watched as several men in black suits helped him up and carried him to a car. Back at the villa, Mr. Jiang looked at me. Is there anything you want to tell me? I looked at the man who had been my mother's most loyal friend. It's over. The look in his eyes was a mixture of pain and pride. Chloe flew back to her home country immediately, demanding an explanation from Julian, but his phone was off. His assistant answered. Miss, I don't think Mr. Yi will be returning anytime soon. What do you mean? She shrieked. After everything I did for him, I don't even deserve an explanation? I'm sorry, the assistant said calmly. He was beaten by Mr. Jiang's men. He's currently in the hospital. Chloe started laughing. Serves him right. My life became a whirlwind of meetings, interviews, and media coverage. 15-year-old genius accepted to Harvard Business School. 25-year-old takes the helm of family empire. New CEO of Een Enterprises was a Wall Street prodigy at 20. The headlines were everywhere. Julian read every single one, each article a new shock to his system. The girl he thought he knew, the one he had molded and controlled, was a stranger. The gap between his perception and my reality was a chasm he couldn't cross. After my mother died, I was supposed to enter the company, to train under her guidance. But lost in grief and feeling utterly alone, I had fallen for Julian's trap. I hid my true self, my education, my abilities, and became the woman he wanted me to be for 5 long years. Leo took me to the room my mother had prepared for me in our overseas home. It was filled with my favorite things, a sanctuary I had never seen. I looked at the smiling photo of her on the wall, and the grief was fresh all over again. The plan was always to keep your identity a secret until you graduated, Leo said softly. She was going to join you here. But you returned to him instead. You never got to see any of this. My mother had been preparing to move abroad to be with me. She had been grooming Julian to take over, never suspecting his betrayal. The years of stress and overwork took their toll, and she never made it. The room was full of her love, photo albums, dolls, jewelry, everything but her. I felt a suffocating weight on my chest and went outside for some air. A familiar figure was standing in the shadows. Julian. He looked gaunt and exhausted. He had been released from the hospital. I had no desire to speak to him. I turned to go back inside. Stella, can you just listen to me? I stopped. I had loved this man for 10 years. It was time for a final ending. Stella, I'm sorry, he began, his voice hoarse. I failed you that night. It wasn't what you think. Chloe. I was just using her to make you jealous. These past few days. I finally understand my own heart. He sounded frantic. From the beginning, I hated you and your mother for taking my uncle's place. I blamed you for my aunt's death. So I tormented you. But the more I hurt you, the more I wanted to be near you. I got scared. I was afraid of losing myself completely, so I brought Chloe back to replace you in my heart. But it didn't work. No one can replace you. I was wrong, Stella. Please, just give me one more chance. He stared at me, his eyes burning with intensity. I was stunned for a moment, then I smiled. You want me back because I have value now. If I were still that naive girl looking up at you from the shadows, would you be saying this? Of course I would. No, you wouldn't, I cut him off. You always make decisions for me, assuming you know best. I never told you, Julian. You're not a Yi. You were adopted. My stepfather never had the heart to tell you. When my mother married him, the Yi Corporation was on the verge of collapse. She brought me into the family to save it, not to steal from you. Yi Enterprises was built by my mother and me. No, he roared. That's impossible. Stop talking. He clutched his head. I'm just trying to win you back. Stop it. Why should I stop? You know it's the truth. The truth is, my mother and I never owed your family anything. The truth is, you were so blinded by a hatred you had no right to, you loved no one but the idea of being the young master of the Yi family. You think a few empty words can erase what you did to me? You're not sorry for hurting me. You're terrified of being exposed, of having nothing. Each word was a hammer blow. He stood frozen, his face a mask of utter despair. The damage was done. Regret was meaningless. The next morning, a phone call jolted me awake. Julian's been in a car accident. He's asking to see you one last time. The sleep vanished from my mind. He was wandering in the street last night, completely dazed. A car hit him. The doctors say he doesn't have much time. I went with Mr. Jeong to the hospital. Julian was lying in the bed, pale and still. The doctor left us alone. Tears streamed down Julian's face. Stella. I was so wrong. I looked at him, my heart a cold, quiet place. Take care of yourself, uncle. He said nothing more, his eyes, full of a desperate, unspoken plea, never leaving my face. My mind flashed with images of him, the boy who tormented a 10-year-old girl, the teenager who gave a 15-year-old girl gifts out of guilt, the young man who confessed his feelings with a mixture of panic and passion, the man who hurt a 25-year-old woman without understanding his own pain. The man who was now facing a woman he no longer recognized, with nothing left but shame. There was nothing more to say. I walked out of the room. I didn't attend his funeral. I heard Chloe married a rich foreigner, a man who, unbeknownst to her, was suspected of killing his 3 previous wives. Leo, like his father, remained a loyal, steadfast presence in my life. My story was just beginning. The sun filtered through the summer leaves, dancing on the surface of the water, sparkling with 1,000 tiny lights. Just like my future, full of infinite possibility.